before continuing our chat application, let's take the time to refactor a bit the thread section component, make it a little bit more readable. Let's create here a method in this class to do this mapping. So we are going to call the mapping function map state to thread summaries. So if we paste the body of the function here, let's give it the name. So it takes one argument, which is the state, which is of type application state. And if we hit Alt Command L, we are going to format this function automatically. Now let's further reduce the amount of nesting that we have here. So what we have here inside is a function that takes a thread and a state and produces a thread summary. So let's define here such a function, map thread to thread summary. And this is going to take the state, which is of type application state, and it's going to take the thread. And the return type will be a thread summary view model. Now we can take the body of this function and copy it here directly. So as we can see, this compiles correctly. Now how we're going to apply this to the map call, because map expects a function with only one argument, which is of type thread. What we can do is we can use the lodash partial operator, and we are going to create a partially applied function that is based on this mapping function, map thread to thread summary. And here we are going to say that the first argument of this partially applied function is the state itself. So as we can see, our program is compiling correctly. What we can do to further externalize these selector functions that we have here, we can actually rename them to reflect the fact that they are selector functions. So they take in the state and they extract a transformation that gets applied on the state. So with Shift F6, let's rename this to, for example, state to thread summaries selector. What we're going to do is we are going to take this implementation of this selector and we're going to externalize it into an external file. So in this case, this selector is only applied here at the level of the thread section. So let's define it here. We're going to create a file state to thread summaries selector.ts. And inside this file, we are going to copy the implementation of the selector function. So we simply add function to the beginning of each function definition. We import the application state and the thread, and also the thread summary view model. We will also need lodash. I'm going to put it here, import star as underscore from lodash. At this point, we simply need to export this function. We might also need this function in the future. So at this moment, let's not export it. We can also do it in the future if needed. Right now we are going to take this selector function that we have created and we are going to apply it here to this select call. So we have here an error. The select call cannot be applied to thread summaries. Let's see here if we are missing something. We are missing here the signature of this function. So we can say that what we're going to return is a list of thread summary arrays. So we have added here the return type to this function. This is an array of thread summary view models, and this has shown here another error. What we're going to do here is we are going to remove the this keyword, that it's not applicable in this context, and this has fixed the error in our thread section component. So as you can see, the thread section component is kept very simple. We only have here a couple of operations that define the streams that our component will subscribe to, and any function that maps state to view models. This is all kept in external files. Now let's have a look at this mapping function selected here, and let's see best practices for implementing this type of mapping, which is the mapping between the store and the view model. This is also called the selector function. It's coming right up in the next lesson.